I would like to open the Board of Registrars meeting at 2 o'clock. At this time, I would like to take a roll call. Wally Kling. Here. David Moore.
Here.
Susan Lynch.
Here.
Lillian Drain. Myself. So welcome, Susan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
I would like to ask if anybody's reporting. We have LakeCAM today. Thank you, LakeCAM. At this moment, on number 1 on the agenda, I would like to reorganize the board. May I have a motion to nominate David Moore as our chair to the Board of Registrars? So, okay.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone opposed? None of us. All right. So voted unanimously.
Yes.
You're in, David.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we have another 4 items on our agenda that do need a vote. Okay, so if we could go through those particular areas, and then we'll turn it over to Lillian. She has a number of items on her town clerk's report.
Yes.
But the first one, what we need is authorization to sign bills and payrolls and invoices that come before the Board of Registrars, okay, for payment relative to elections and registrations, okay? So if I could please have a motion to authorize Lillian Drain as a member of the Board of Registrars to be able to sign for these items.
I motion.
Okay, so moved. And do we have a second?
I second.
And seconded. All right, and all those who are in favor of this particular motion?
Aye.
Aye. All right, very good. So Lillian, you are authorized to sign
I will go ahead
all
and do that.
necessary items connected with the Board of Registrars. Okay. The second item is the authorization of the board's stamps. And basically, let me just find some literature on that. Okay, and this would be authorizing the town clerk and the assistant town clerk, would be Jesse, to perform the work as specified in 950 CMR 55.02 and to use our signature stamps on the nomination papers and petitions that are submitted for certification. Okay, any question about the motion that we need?
No, I'll make a motion.
Okay, all right, and do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. And all those in favor of this authorization and this motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and again, unanimous.
Okay, thank you.
So we have that completed,
So
and we
just
will be
for-
signing that
Sure.
at the end.
So just for the record, I just want to
Sure.
let you know that we have petition A and petition B going to be circulating at the end of the month. And those ballots are going to be brought forward to the state in the November election in 2022.
Okay.
Okay, and they're gonna need 80,000 signatures on those initial petitions in order to submit it to the Secretary of State. So that's a lot of stamping that we're gonna be doing at the office, but
Okay, the third item that we need authorization for, or I'll vote for, is during this period of early voting that we're going to be having, again, a continuation of what was happening during the pandemic. Okay, in fact, they're voting on it now, and the governor is signing both House and Senate. And what this particular motion needs to do is to indicate that there should be no political signs or attempts at political persuasion are permitted at the town hall located on Bedford Street. In addition, there are no political signs or attempted political persuasion are permitted in other municipal building property during the period that is used for early voting. My understanding is that we'll be using the old town hall
Yes.
as a
yeah, that would be somewhat our early voting permit location. I was hoping to secure the Ted Williams camp,
Mhm.
but that would take away every day from their functions. So it did work for us at the old town hall. It felt nice to be back at the old town hall with something old, something new. So I'm hoping that that would be maybe a permanent place, but definitely this policy will help us, because we did have some people come in with the mega hats, the Biden's t-shirts, and we were kind enough to tell them, please remove it or turn it inside out, but it was difficult. So by us having a policy in place, and a lot of towns are doing this, because absentee voting does take place at the town hall, at the clerk's office.
Mhm.
So we don't want people coming in with that same thing. So we need to really put something in place.
So this would actually apply to any area that we may
Yes.
be using this
Correct.
municipal building,
Correct.
whether it be the old town hall or the
Yes.
town clerk's office.
And we also use this room for early voting for the,
Mhm.
I believe it was the presidential primary.
Oh, yes.
So we did use this room as well. And we used the COA in 2018, so like you said, any municipal building.
Okay, so just, again, to repeat, what we will be voting on is we want to implement a policy that indicates that there will be no political signs or political persuasion at any of the areas within the town that are used for early voting purposes or for voting purposes, right? Would I have a
You do?
motion?
I will make a motion.
Okay, certainly. And a second?
second.
And seconded, all right, very good. And all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so again, this particular motion has been carried, okay? All right, and the last one we have is to recommend to the Board of Selectmen. What we want to do is recommend to the Board of Selectmen the yearly appointment of election officers, okay? And do we all have copies of the
Yes.
list? Okay, the various lists of people, okay? So this would require a motion, again, to the Board of Selectmen for yearly appointment of these election officers, all right? And the motion this time would include officers to be appointed, election officers to be appointed as election officers until August 15th of 2022, okay? We cover the next year.
Correct, yes.
All right? Okay, do I have a motion that?
I'll make the motion.
The motion, thank you.
I second.
And second, all right, and all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and therefore that will be signed at the end of the meeting as well, okay? All right, anything else in regard to any of these motions that we've made that need clarification or? Okay.
Just for the record, on these election officers, these are the existing election officers that we've had for years. And so eventually, hopefully next year, I'm going to be recruiting. We have lost at least 10 election officers due to COVID. They didn't want to do it because of COVID. They retired from doing election work. So yeah, something to consider next year.
Okay. All right, very good. So now we have items that we're in regard to town clerk's report.
All right. So we are considering using poll pads.
Mhm.
And these poll pads, this is from the company called LHS. We have 175 cities and towns using the poll pads. So around our area, we have Carver, East Bridgewater, Middleborough, Plymouth, Rainham, Taunton, to name a few, West Bridgewater and Wareham. So what would this do is the average voter check-in time is about 15 seconds. That means that shorter times to check in, we're not using those long pieces of the voter list and going through them. Increases voter turnout faster. For the poll workers, it's easy to locate the name. We can either manual enter the information, or we can ask to speed up the process. If they wish to give us their ID, it scans the ID immediately and the name pops up. The ID is only scanning the name and the date of birth. It also, at the end of the night, it electronically records the total. So that means that no more adding your pages at the end of the night and trying to come up with a number to match to the tape. So at least we'll be efficient and faster at the end of the night.
Definitely.
Right? And for the clerks, we can load this information easily on a state computer through a USB drive. The access to our totals are streamlined faster. The data entry to this is immediately, so let's say my assistant is not going through the voter list one by one and clicking on the state computer. This uploads it immediately, so it saves us a lot of time. So I'm looking to modernize our elections in Lakeville. I think I'm getting there with the new voting machines, and then this would be, at least I want to use this for our fall town meeting, hopefully one that might be scheduled this year in the fall. So that would be the first time that the voters might be able to see it, if not definitely for the April election in 2022, for our town election. So this will replace our outdated paper model that we've been using forever, but we'll still have one as a backup just in case this breaks down on election day, God forbid, the paper version would be there. So I just wanted to share that with the board.
Can
So
I just ask you, Lillian, in your discussions with other town clerks and communities, have you been getting mostly favorable comments about instituting this, or have there been any unfavorable?
no hiccups to this. They all love it. The turnaround to get the totals is faster. At the end of the night, with the election workers trying to tally the books, they don't have to do that. It just tells us a number. The poll pads do talk to each other. So especially at town meeting, I don't have to separate precinct 1, 2, and 3. We can have a long table, 3 poll pads. Anybody can go to those poll pads, give their name, and you check in. So it's not like we're separating those precincts anymore. So that is huge.
Some like precinct 3 is twice as large as any of the other ones. They always were behind.
And people, especially at town meeting, don't have to worry about, oh, what precinct am I in? You need to know this one.
Yeah.
So it's something like that. And then at the elections, we would have one particular poll pad just to look up your precinct. But then again, we'll have your maps there, but it'll be easier just to look them up. So.
Does it require much training on the part of people?
Yeah, so we'll get some people to come in. The company will come in and train us for at least 3 days. And one of them being hopefully that fall town meeting. Prior to that, they'll train us, but live would be one of those town meetings that we might have this year. That will be nice. So I am looking forward to this. It's something that Lakeville needs. So, and then we'll be ready for the presidential election in 2024. But going like that, yeah. Okay. The next thing I wanted to talk about is the possibility of going to a precinct 4.
No.
Yes, the numbers have come. So just to give you a little facts about it, a precinct may have no more than 4,000 residents. So keep in mind that Lakeville has 3 precincts. And in 2010, our population was 10,620. So that's the federal census numbers. Precinct 1 had 3,407. Precinct 2 had 3,510. And precinct 3 had 3,685. So with the numbers that they're just giving us, these are estimate numbers of 11,649, is a difference of 1,029 from 2010, right? We're not even going to talk about the numbers that I have from in-house census because it really doesn't matter. These are census numbers that the federal, the enumerators went door to door, or they mailed out the census. So they're stating that the 2020 federal census numbers for Lakeville, precinct 1 is at 3824, precinct 2 is at 4,044, precinct 3 is at 3781. So their suggestion is, okay, let's keep the 3 precincts and shovel everybody around. If we were to do that, precinct 1 would be at 3824. Keep in mind, this is still at 11,649, the estimate number. Precinct 2 would be at 3987. Precinct 3 would be at 3838. So if you look at those numbers, there's no room to grow in the next 10 years. Not at all. So what they're suggesting is, let's do a 4th precinct. And a 4th precinct would be, can I show you this? All right. So the 4th precinct would be right in the middle of the town. So precinct 1 would be at 2909, precinct 2 would be at 2887, precinct 3 would be at 2881, and precinct 4 would be at 2972. So as you can see those numbers, there's plenty of room to grow in the next 10 or maybe 20 years. So the last time that we had a created precinct was in 2000, when a 3rd precinct was created. So it's taken 20 years to come up with another precinct. So currently, I'm working on the simulation map of the 2020 census data estimates. The official census data release would be sometime on September 30th. Around October of this year, local approval will have to take place of the precinct map and submitted to the select board for approval. The city clerks and town clerks have to give written notice of the approved map to the LEDRC, which is the Local Election District Review Committee, which is 3 members, and those are made up from the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, and a member that the governor might appoint. So those 3 members are in charge of the maps of Massachusetts and the approval. But there's a hiccup to this because we have the legislature looking to draft new re-precinct lines, and they want to do that first instead of us giving them, okay, this is what's going to look like for Lakeville. So they're going to tell us, okay, we're going to re-precinct. So I'm at a standstill right now, waiting for what they're going to be doing. So that's where that stands. But once I get the numbers from the state, the official numbers, and once the state figures out if they're going to re-precinct those boundary lines, we'll have another meeting and we'll go through all this again and finalize the map and have the selectmen approve this map and bring it forward to the state.
Okay.
Since this has been done in the past, with another precinct was added on, how did you notify citizens or voters?
Oh, yes, well, we took advantage of doing that by the census. So at the beginning of the year, the people that were affected, changing those streets to, let's say, now you belong in precinct 3,
yeah.
We had to send you that information through the census.
Right.
So you got a separate mailing on that.
Separate mail.
Yes.
People would get a mailing.
Yes, they will.
Okay.
Yeah, all this is all this is gonna fall into place. And I'm hoping that the state works on this right away, because if they hold off, then, I mean, my census have to be produced by January 1st, and those are for 3 precincts. So if I'm gonna create a 4th precinct, there's gonna be censuses, for 4 precincts. Yes, too much to think about.
Well, very confusing
It is.
when they're talking about changing some of the legislative districts. When you add that into this.
Into this mix, we're like,
Yeah,
so I don't know where Lakeville's gonna fall into
Right.
place.
Oh, right.
yeah.
Yeah,
some of our,
because at one time, we used to have precinct 1 belong to, I forgot who was the rep at the time. And then 2 and 3 was, I know, I was gonna look that up. 2 and 3 belonged to someone else, and now,
that could change again.
that could change again. So now Norman Oral, has precinct 1, 2, and 3.
Right, it's the whole town.
Yeah.
I know, just think of a place like Brockton or Fall River. Wow,
Yeah.
if they went through this.
Even Bridgewater, they're going through a big mess.
Yes.
Yeah, because even the campus itself is its own, census block.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're all in a mess.
Okay. Hmm.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
The other item on the agenda would be, I just wanted to inform the board that, I went up on the, wages for the poll workers and the Board of Registrars. It's been long overdue. The next on the agenda would be, regarding early voting, location and dates. Just to let you know that I gave you a little overlook of the next 7 years, what early voting and the elections will take place. That could change. Currently it's 7 days, early voting, at least 12 days or more. But at least you'll have that for your record, and also the correspondence that has to be sent to the Secretary of State's office regarding early voting, where it's gonna take place and the hours that have to be available. The next on the agenda is, it has to do with your yearly calendar that I would be sending at the end of the year, just to be on the lookout, so at least you'll know for voter registrations, what dates are available, and any proposed town meetings. And number 11 on the agenda has to do with the Secretary of State sending out informational materials for the Board of Registrars. They want to make sure that you are aware of any new things that come up, any new training. So you will see something from me that I will mail you in regards to anything that pertains to the Board of Registrars. Number 12 on the agenda has to do with the acceptance of Chapter 41, Section 110A. That has to do with Saturdays, treating Saturdays as a holiday. And the reason why I'm asking for this to be a warrant article is that acceptance of this chapter allows the town clerk to treat Saturdays as a legal holiday when we're calculating filing deadlines, voter registrations, or submittal of nomination papers. Now with the Secretary of State trying to, let's just say the law is trying to change the voter registration from 20 days to 10 days, this could affect us, meaning that we would have to be at the office until 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday. It has happened to me. So this is something that we need to accept, and it's time for us to accept this. I don't know why we never brought this forward, but I'm tired of working Saturdays.
Is this something that affects all municipalities?
Yes, it does.
Commonwealth, or?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And
And
so
have others already voted this?
a lot of towns have voted on this, yes, and we are behind times.
Okay.
And so it's something that needs to be considered, and at least the Board of Registrars don't have to do a voter registration session, or someone in the office would have to do that. This will alleviate from us staying open, and that matter would be taken care of the next business day.
And do I understand that this first goes to the recommendation to the selectmen,
Yes.
And does it go to the town?
Correct, so this would be a warrant article that I'll be submitting, so I'm hoping maybe if they have something scheduled for the fall, that this would be on the fall town meeting, or maybe at the spring or annual town meeting of next year. And this is just an acceptance of this chapter.
I see.
So this will go to the Secretary of State that we're accepted this chapter, and that's it.
Okay.
All right. And then lastly that I want to bring up to date is regarding the election laws of 2022 and beyond. So like you mentioned, it's at the governor's desk right now, and he's signing off the provisions for early voting that will take place until December 31st of this year. Next year is something else. They're working on that language. So the Massachusetts Town Clerks Association met with the Joint Committee on Election Laws regarding conveying their concerns regarding the Senate Bill 459, which is called the Votes Act. And some of their concerns would be to remove the required postcard mailing by the Secretary of State, which this was very labor-intensive process, not for just me, but for all of us, which caused duplicate requests and voter confusion. So we're recommending that to develop some kind of online portal to augment this existing mail-in ballot request form. So, the voter would go in online, request the form, request the ballot, and we mail in the ballot. Everything would be online, their signature would be captured, no more back and forth with a piece of paper or those cards that the Secretary of State wants to send out, that they're required to send out. The other one was to reduce in-person voting, period. So the statistics out there are showing that very low turnout numbers for that, especially for the primary election, and then for the general election. For this election in November, it was a presidential election, so it was crazy busy. So with the permanent vote by mail, it will reduce the need for the in-person voting. So the in-person voting is 5 days in person for most primary elections. And so we want to stay with that. If we stay with 5, and then 7 days, and stay with 7 days for the general election. They want us to do 15 days. And then lastly is to adopt election day voter registration and maintain the existing voter registration from 20 days to 10 days. This provides us with a safeguard in case the voter misses that deadline. They can go on the election day, register to vote, get a provisional ballot, and vote. They'll still be able to vote. By them changing the voter registration deadline to 10 days and adding it part of our early voting period, it creates such a chaos because you're gonna go vote early, register to vote, and then who's to say you go into next door and do the same thing? So at what point are we gonna catch that? Yeah, so
these recommendations you're talking about from the clerks association?
correct, this is from us, from what we see, what we deal with, and to the joint committee, because it's easy for them just to, stroke of a pen, say this is it, but we're the ones that are actually managing these elections, so it's huge. They need to hear from us what worked and what didn't work.
Now, I know the committee voted even today to send it along to Senate Ways and Means.
Correct.
Okay, did it include, do you know offhand, did it include any of the recommendations that you're talking about? Because otherwise you'd have to put them in as amendments.
No, it has, yes. So our committee met with them on July 20th.
Okay.
Yes. So they were able to give them what we were looking for and how that would help us. So we're hoping that the joint committee will take the, swift action on this bill. So the Secretary of the Commonwealth, local clerks, and the voters have time for next year to select their voting options. Because to me, the years that I've been in the clerk's office, at the last minute, they're throwing us these new laws that we need to implement, do it right away. And at the end, the poor voters are all confused. So we're looking for 2022, and they start acting now, that we can implement this. We have an idea, especially new clerks coming on, have no idea of what elections looks like. At least we have time.
Well, it's a good thing that they're only carrying the present situation through to December, so that these things can be looked at, ironed out, and given to the community so everybody can understand it.
Because I get it, last year they put those laws into effect right away, last minute because of COVID, what was going on. So it worked, but it really, there was difficulties managing that work. So I don't know. I hope they listen to us, and I hope they put they take that into consideration.
Yeah.
But I was gonna give you some facts here about our election, just to think about. So from January to April, absentee voting, I managed 145 applications. Doesn't sound a lot, right?
No.
Okay. Vote by mail online portal. Now keep in mind this portal needed to be utilized and implemented by the Secretary of State, because the laws, how they wrote it up, say, okay, the Secretary of State, you need to come up with some kind of mechanism for this. So it was rolled out in August. So 122 came through the online portal, that every day we had to keep up with that. Vote by mail applications, 2,555. That's July to October. That every day we managed to do data entry with that. Early voting in person, 2,519. That was straight 12 days at the Old Town Hall.
It's a lot.
A lot of people went to go visit that Old Town Hall.
Yeah, they want to see.
Yeah. And then on election day, 2,543 people showed up to vote on election day. Yeah. So 86% turnout for roughly around 7,300 people voted. Yeah, and the registered voters at the time was 8,559.
Good turnout.
Yeah.
Good turnout.
So we were very busy, very, very busy. I did have a good team of election workers helping me, especially on election night. I had Sue Lynch that we worked until 3 o'clock in the morning trying to balance. I had 2 election workers for at least a month and a half coming in to help me just manage the day-to-day ballots that needed to be mailed out, received, and processed, on top of early voting that was taking place every day at the early voting site for at least 12 days. Yeah. So
Is that one of our highest turnouts to the
Yes.
election?
Yes, it is. Yes. It's one of the highest turnouts. So that is my report for the Board of Registrars. I'm hoping that 2022 for the governor's race would be smooth with any election laws that would be put in place. Our town is growing. We might need that 4th precinct. And having these mechanisms, especially for checking people in, would be easier for us.
Would that eliminate the checkout?
Yes, one of the permanent laws that was put into place last year was the elimination of the checkout table. So that did come in handy for me. That was easy. People were not, lining up to check out. It was easy just to place the ballot in the box and out the door. So I think that's the way Massachusetts is gonna go. It's an option, so if it's an option, I'm gonna take it. Yeah. And then having the pull pads giving me a number to match to the machine, it's huge. Yeah. So Thank you so much.
Okay, well, thank you, Lillian, for all that information.
Thank you.
Well, do we have, anyone want to discuss any old business or any new business to be brought up before the board, before the meeting?
No, sir.
No,
We're all set. All right. Well, unless there's nothing else, I think we can call for
Motion to adjourn.
to adjourn. Okay,
Okay.
second to adjourn?
Yes.
All right, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.